Hey, I'm Jay, the logical half.
And I'm Minnie, the creative spark. Welcome to Search Insights Academy, our deep dive into the world of search.
Tonight, we're laser focused on, well, a massive shift we're seeing. Zero-click search. It now accounts for, what, something like 60% of online queries?
It's huge. And tied right into that, we'll be unpacking Google's AI overviews,
Mhm.
the ones already reaching 1.5 billion users. It's a
A
lot.
billion and a half. Wow. Okay.
Exactly. And we're going to reveal how autonomous AI agents are actually helping some savvy brands boost what we're calling their answer share in this whole new landscape.
That's your share. Okay, new term already.
Yep. And we'll even share some real wins, from companies like Ramp, Indeed, and Shopify, real examples.
Okay, so if you want to understand how to navigate this new reality and, frankly, stay visible, you need to stick around.
Definitely. We've got a 10-step plan later on to build your own AI agent. Actionable steps you can actually start implementing, like today.
All right. Okay, Minnie, let's really dig into the zero-click thing first.
Mm.
60%, that number. It's still kind of mind-blowing when you say it out loud.
It really is. The latest data we have is from SparkToro's 2024 Clickstream panel. And honestly, it's quite concerning.
Concerning how?
Well, in the EU, for example, only about 374 out of every 1,000 Google searches actually led to someone, clicking through to a website.
Only 374 out of 1,000.
Yeah. And the US numbers are pretty similar. Think about the majority of searches just end right there on the Google results page.
So all that effort we put into ranking, optimizing pages, is it becoming less and less relevant for a huge chunk of searches then?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And the data from Sear Interactive sheds even more light on it.
But
Their analysis shows that when those AI overviews pop up, organic click-through rates take a really significant hit. We're talking an average drop of 15 to 25%.
15 to 25% average drop.
Right?
That's
Oh.
significant.
It is. But here's where it gets really stark. For commercial queries, like when someone's comparing products or looking for a how-to guide, they've seen declines as steep as 70%.
70. Wow. Okay, that's not just a little dip in traffic.
Exactly. For some businesses, it's like a major source of leads or customers has just, dried up.
70%. That really paints a picture.
Mhm.
So this isn't just hitting informational queries where people grab a quick fact. It's impacting businesses trying to, sell things too.
Precisely.
If people aren't clicking through, how do we even measure success online anymore? Like, what's the goal?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's driving this evolution towards what we're starting to call AI visibility, or AIV for short.
AIV. Okay.
Think of it like this progression. First, we had SEO, right? All about ranking high to get traffic. Simple enough.
Yep, the classic goal.
Then, as search engines started putting answers right on the results page, we moved towards AEO, answer engine optimization, trying to get into those featured snippets and answer
That's
boxes.
getting that prime real estate.
But now, with these much more sophisticated AI models generating complex answers, it's about AIV. It's about making sure your brand is present and, crucially, cited within these AI-generated responses.
Okay, so it's less about being the link they click and maybe more about being the trusted source the AI itself relies on.
You got it. That's the core shift.
So how do we even begin to track something like that? It feels fuzzier than clicks and rankings.
It requires a shift in our key performance indicators, our KPIs. We can't just focus on website traffic and those traditional rankings anymore. They still matter, but they don't tell the whole story.
Okay, so what do we track?
We need to start looking seriously at answer share. That's basically the percentage of relevant queries where your brand gets mentioned or cited as a source in the AI answers.
Answer share. Got it. Are there tools for this?
Yeah, they're emerging. Profound's Conversation Explorer is one tool people are starting to use to monitor this. We also need to consider entity coverage.
Entity coverage.
Yeah, like how comprehensively do these AI systems actually understand what your brand offers, your products, services, key topics you're an expert on?
Okay, so does the AI get what we do?
Exactly. And finally, citation rate. Simply, how often does the AI specifically attribute information back to your brand? These become the new benchmarks for visibility success in this AI world.
Answer share, entity coverage, citation rate. Definitely new terms for many of us listening. But, okay, why is it so critical that businesses start thinking about this right now? What's the big rush?
It really comes down to the sheer scale of Google's AI overviews. Alphabet's recent earnings report confirmed it. These AI-powered answers are now reaching 1.5 billion monthly users.
1 billion users seeing these AI answers every month.
It's an enormous audience getting their information in this completely new way. And what's even more telling, perhaps, is that Google has indicated that these AI overviews are actually increasing overall search usage.
Oh, interesting. So they're not just replacing clicks, they're making people search more.
Seems like it. Which signals Google's long-term commitment and heavy investment in this format. So if your brand isn't visible in these AI responses, you're essentially missing out on connecting with a massive and apparently growing segment of search users.
It's like being in a marketplace where everyone's suddenly congregating in this new, huge section, and you're still just polishing your sign back in the old corner.
That's a great analogy. You have to go where the audience is.
Okay, that scale really puts it into perspective. We absolutely need to be where the AI is providing the answers. But how do we actually influence that? It's not like traditional SEO where we're optimizing for, a relatively clear algorithm, right?
Yeah.
This feels different.
It is different, and that's where the real power of these AI SEO agents comes into play.
AI SEO agents, okay.
Now, it's important here to differentiate. There are simple conversational plugins or chatbots you might see, which are mostly reactive. What we're talking about are these more sophisticated autonomous task agents.
Autonomous, meaning they work on their own.
Pretty much. We're focusing on the latter type AI systems designed to proactively strategize, actually execute SEO tasks, and even learn and adapt over time, often with minimal direct human input needed for every single action.
Wow. Like having an always-on, always-learning SEO strategist just working away in the background.
That's the idea.
Okay, that sounds pretty advanced. What are the core building blocks of something like that? What makes it tick?
Well, they rely on several key components working together. First, they need what we call memory systems. This is crucial for storing and quickly retrieving relevant information. Think of it like their internal knowledge base, or brain.
Their memory. Makes sense. What kind of tech are we talking about?
Options here include technologies like AAASS, PG Vector, and SUPA-based vector. SUPA-based vector is actually quite interesting because it offers something called automatic embeddings.
Automatic embeddings, meaning?
It simplifies how you integrate your data into this vector format the AI understands, less technical heavy lifting. And research is also showing that using dynamic chunk sizes for this memory.
Chunk sizes, like how big the pieces of information are.
Exactly. Somewhere in the range of 300 to 500 tokens per chunk seems to be optimal right now for how effectively the AI retrieves the right information. It's a balancing act.
Okay, 300, 500 tokens. Good to know.
And even more cutting edge, Crew AI, which is a popular framework for building these agents, just released a new module that specifically integrates PG Vector for agents built using TypeScript, which is a common programming language.
So the tools are evolving fast to handle this memory aspect, okay? So they have a way to remember and access information. What else do they need to actually do SEO work? Take action.
Right. They need to connect to various tools and services through APIs, application programming interfaces.
APIs, got it. Like connecting dots.
Exactly. Imagine the agent having access to your analytics platform like GA4, that's Google Analytics 4, where you track website data.
Huh?
Your Google Search Console for search performance insights, your content management system, the CMS like WordPress or maybe Shopify where your website actually lives.
Right, the back end.
Tools that validate your structured data, schema markup, and even performance monitoring platforms. These tools are basically the agent's eyes, ears, and hands. They allow it to gather data, analyze it, and then implement changes to your website or online presence.
Okay, so they can gather data and make changes. That sounds powerful,
Yeah.
but also a little scary. That level of independence, how do we make sure they don't, go completely off the rails and mess things up?
That's a perfectly valid concern, and it's where the crucial concept of guardrails comes in.
Guardrails, okay, like safety barriers.
Precisely. These are essentially rules and constraints you put in place to prevent unwanted outcomes. This could involve using something called JSON schema validation.
JSON schema validation.
Yeah.
Technical term alert.
Yeah. It's a feature in tools like Guardrails AI. Basically, it ensures that any content or changes the agent proposes stick to a specific format you define. This really helps avoid the AI making things up, what we often call hallucinations.
Preventing hallucinations. That's definitely important. What else?
You also need mechanisms to verify that the agent is maintaining your brand's specific voice and tone. You need fact-checking procedures to ensure accuracy. And importantly, you usually want approval workflows for significant changes.
Meaning a human has to sign off.
Yes, requiring a human to review and approve before anything major gets implemented, it adds that layer of control.
Checks and balances for the AI. Makes sense. So the agent gathers info, figures out a plan using its memory and tools, gets a human okay via the guardrails and workflows, and then makes the changes. What happens after that? Is it just done?
Oh, not at all. It's designed as a continuous loop, a feedback cycle.
Okay.
After the agent publishes any changes, it needs to constantly monitor the impact. And it uses both traditional SEO metrics, rankings, traffic where they're still relevant, and those new AI visibility KPIs we talked about, like answer share.
So it watches what happens.
Exactly. This feedback is then fed back into the agent's system. This allows it to learn from its successes and its failures and continuously refine its strategies over time. It's all about ongoing improvement and adaptation to what's actually working.
Right, learning and getting smarter. This whole landscape seems to be evolving incredibly rapidly, though. What's the sort of market snapshot right now, like April 2025? Are businesses really using these AI agents in a meaningful way already?
Absolutely. Things are moving fast. As we said, Google AI overviews have already hit that massive 1.5 billion monthly user mark globally, and they're appearing for around 40% of search queries, maybe more in some areas.
10%, wow.
So that alone underscores the immediate need to be thinking about optimizing for inclusion. You just can't ignore it. And we're also starting to see new ways to gain visibility within these AI experiences.
Like what?
Well, Perplexity, another AI search engine, has launched sponsored question ads. TechCrunch covered this recently. It's basically a way for brands to pay to have their answers featured for specific types of questions.
Interesting. So it's not just about trying to influence the organic AI results. There are also paid opportunities emerging directly within these conversational interfaces.
Exactly. It's a potential new advertising channel, though Perplexity emphasizes they're focused on maintaining a good user experience with it.
Of course.
And the tools to help businesses navigate all this are also getting more sophisticated. The Financial Times recently covered Brand Tech and Profound's Conversation Explorer. That's the tool we mentioned for tracking answer share.
Right.
Companies like Ramp and Indeed are actively using it right now to measure and optimize their presence in AI-generated answers, real-world use cases.
Okay, so big companies are already investing in tools for this. What about smaller businesses or those just starting?
Well, on the more accessible end, Sonic has launched a beta version of their SEO agent. It's positioned more as a tool to augment human SEO efforts with AI power, rather than full autonomy maybe, making this kind of technology potentially more approachable for a wider range of businesses.
Good to have options at different levels.
Yeah.
And what about the regulatory side? You mentioned the EU earlier. I remember hearing about Google's experiments there because of the Digital Markets Act, the DMA. How does that factor in?
Yeah, that's a really important point to remember. Google's DMA experiment in Europe, which Search Engine Land reported on, involved basically showing only traditional blue links for some queries. They stripped out many of the rich results, the featured snippets, and the AI-generated content for certain searches.
Really? Just the 10 blue links, old school.
For some users and queries, yeah. It really highlights how regional regulations can create significantly different search experiences. But it also kind of underscores just how much users in other regions have maybe come to expect and rely on these AI features. When they disappear, it's noticeable.
So it suggests that while the underlying need for information is constant, the way users expect to access it can vary based on regulations and, well, what they're used to seeing.
Exactly. It adds another layer of complexity, especially for global businesses.
It feels like we're really getting a glimpse into the future of search here, but it's happening right now. Let's get into the real nuts and bolts of these AI agents, the engine room, so to speak. What's the very first step in their process when they actually start working? Where does it begin?
It all begins with the data ingestion layer. This is absolutely foundational. It's where the agent gathers and processes information from all sorts of relevant sources, your own website, competitor sites, analytics platforms, industry reports, you name it.
Okay, pulling all the raw material together.
Right. And tools are emerging to make this easier too. Like N8N, which is a popular automation platform, recently released an AI agent node in version 1.89. It helps build these data pipelines using a low-code approach, making it more accessible.
Low code is good, but what are the main challenges here in this injection phase?
There are a few key ones. First, data freshness, making sure the information is up to date. Second, format standardization, getting all this data from different places into a consistent format the AI can actually understand. Third, quality filtering. You don't want to feed the AI garbage, so filtering out irrelevant or low-quality info is crucial. And finally, metadata enrichment.
Metadata enrichment.
Like adding labels.
Exactly. Adding tags or labels that help the AI understand the context, source, and significance of each piece of data. It's not just about having the data, it's about making it usable for the AI.
So it's not just dumping everything in. It needs careful curation and organization right from the start. What happens once the agent has all this nicely processed data?
Okay, next, this curated data is transformed into what we call vectors and stored in a vector store or vector database.
Vectors again. So turning words and concepts into numbers the AI can compare.
That's a good way to think about it. This vector format allows for incredibly efficient similarity searching. This is the core of retrieval augmented generation, or RAG.
RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Okay. Which is basically how the AI finds the most relevant pieces of information from its memory banks, the vector store, to help it answer a query or complete a task.
So it retrieves relevant stuff before it generates the answer.
Precisely. And as we mentioned, tools like Supabase's automatic embeddings can really simplify this vectorization process. And again, that research suggesting dynamic hunk sizes, keeping those individual pieces of information within that 300 to 500 token sweet spot, seems really important for balancing detail and clarity for the AI during retrieval.
Right. Not too big, not too small.
The vector store essentially acts like the agent's specialized, searchable long-term memory.
Okay, data in, turned into vectors, stored efficiently. Now, how do all these different components, the memory, the tools, the data, get managed and coordinated to actually perform SEO tasks and make decisions? Who's the conductor?
That's where orchestration frameworks come in.
Yeah.
You can think of these as the control center or the brain coordinating all the different parts of your AI agent system.
The orchestrator. Got it.
Mhm.
What are the main options here?
Leading options right now include Crew AI, which we mentioned uses TypeScript and now has that persistent memory integration with PG Vector, and Autogen, currently at version 0.4. Autogen is notable for its ability to benchmark multiple agents working together, and it even has a graphical user interface, which can make it easier to manage.
GUI is always nice. What do these frameworks actually do?
They handle all the complex coordination. Things like sequencing the different tasks the agent needs to perform in the right order, managing the agent's internal state, what it knows and what it's doing right now, handling errors gracefully if something goes wrong, scaling up resources if a task needs more power, and really importantly, logging everything that happens for transparency and debugging later.
So they manage the entire workflow.
Exactly. They let you focus on the high-level strategy and the agent's goals rather than getting bogged down in the plumbing of how all the pieces talk to each other.
Plumbing for the AI brain. Definitely not glamorous, but clearly essential work. Okay, we talked about guardrails earlier, the safety nets. Can you give us some more concrete examples of how these work in practice within these orchestration frameworks? How do they keep things safe?
Absolutely. Guardrails AI's use of JSON schema validation is a really practical example we touched on.
Yeah.
It's great for preventing those AI hallucinations or just making stuff up.
Right. Defining the output structure.
You essentially define the exact structure you expect the agent's output to have. Like if it's generating schema markup, you tell it exactly what fields must be included. If the output doesn't match that structure, it gets flagged or rejected.
Smart. What else?
Beyond that, typical guardrails you'd build in include automated checks to ensure any content generated aligns with your established brand, voice, and tone guidelines. You don't want the AI sounding off-brand.
Definitely not.
Mechanisms for verifying the factual accuracy of any claims the agent might make, maybe cross-referencing against trusted sources. Checks for adherence to relevant legal and regulatory compliance, like GDPR or, as we mentioned, DMA requirements.
Compliance is key.
You can even have predictive models that try to estimate the potential impact, positive or negative, of a proposed change before it's implemented. And, of course, those crucial human approval workflows, especially for more significant actions like publishing new pages or making major site structure changes.
Layers upon layers of security and oversight. It's not just letting the AI run wild.
Not if you want to do it responsibly, no.
Okay, so the agent proposes a change, it passes the guardrails, maybe gets human approval, and then it makes the change. Then it monitors. What's the process for that continuous improvement loop look like?
That's where the deploy, test, iterate cycle is absolutely critical. You almost never want to deploy changes directly to your live website without testing them first.
Right. Staging environment first.
Exactly. Test thoroughly in a staging environment that mimics your live site. Then, once deployed live, you continuously monitor performance. Use both your traditional SEO metrics and those new AI visibility KPIs we keep mentioning. Watch them closely.
And if things go wrong, if performance drops,
You need to have automated rollback mechanisms in place. Set performance thresholds, and if key metrics drop below those thresholds after a change, the system should automatically revert the changes back to the previous stable state quickly.
automated rollbacks, that's reassuring.
Absolutely. And crucially, you also need to thoroughly document everything. What changes were made by the agent? What were the results, positive or negative? And then use those learnings to feed back into the system, refine the agent's parameters, tweak its prompts, adjust its strategy for the next iteration. It's a constant cycle of learning and improvement based on real data.
Deploy, test, measure, learn, iterate. Got it. And it sounds like optimizing how the agent finds information. The retrieval part isn't just about the size of those data chunks we talked about earlier. Are there other techniques to make that retrieval even smarter or more accurate?
Oh yeah, definitely. Beyond just carefully considering the dynamic chunk size, there are more advanced retrieval optimization techniques you can employ.
Such as?
Well, there's hybrid retrieval. This combines traditional keyword-based search with semantic search, which understands the meaning and intent behind the words. Using both often gets more comprehensive results.
Best of both worlds.
Kind of. Then there are re-ranking algorithms. After the initial retrieval fetches a bunch of potentially relevant chunks, a re-ranker can analyze them more closely and prioritize the most relevant ones to show the AI first.
Okay, refining the results.
Query expansion techniques can also help. The agent can broaden its search query to include related concepts or synonyms, potentially finding relevant information it might have missed otherwise. And contextual weighting allows you to tell the agent that, in certain situations, information from specific sources or certain types of data is more important or trustworthy than others.
So you can guide its focus.
Exactly. All of these techniques contribute to getting more accurate, relevant, and useful information to the AI, which leads to better outputs and decisions.
This is incredibly insightful, but I can also see how it could get very technical very quickly. For businesses listening, what are some practical options for actually implementing these AI agents, especially if they have different levels of technical expertise or resources?
That's a great question. There's definitely a spectrum of tools available now for businesses maybe with limited coding resources or those just wanting to dip their toes in. Low-code and no-code platforms offer a really good entry point.
Low code, no code.
Yeah.
Like drag and drop.
Pretty much. Tools like NAN with its specific AI agent node Zapier agents, which is currently in beta, and Make. These platforms provide visual workflow builders. You can connect different services, automate tasks, and even integrate some basic AI functionalities without needing to write extensive code. They're great for getting started quickly.
Okay, so that lowers the barrier to entry.
Right.
What about teams with more technical firepower?
For teams with in-house development capabilities or those needing more customization and control, code-first frameworks are the way to go. We've mentioned Crew AI, which uses TypeScript and has that persistent memory feature now. There's also Prefect 3 Control Flow, which uses Python and really emphasizes reliability and observability for complex workflows.
Python's popular.
Very. Then you have Apache Airflow, which is a very mature platform with a huge ecosystem of integrations, and Dagster, which is another Python option that's known for being very data aware, understanding dependencies between data assets.
Lots of choices in the code-first world.
Yeah, these code-first options offer much greater flexibility, customization, and scalability for building really complex, tailored autonomous agents.
So how does a business choose? What are the key factors?
It really comes down to evaluating your specific needs. What's the scale of the automation you're aiming for? What's your budget? What's the technical skill set of your team? And what's your timeline? How quickly do you need to see results? Answering those questions will guide you towards whether a low-code or code-first approach and which specific tool within that category makes the most sense for you right now.
That breakdown is really helpful. Okay, so regardless of the toolkit a business chooses, let's get really practical. What are some concrete, actionable automations that you think businesses could realistically start deploying today to begin tackling this AI-driven search landscape and improving their AIV?
Okay, great question. Let's talk about 5 deploy today automations. First, an entity markup injector.
Entity markup injector, what does it do?
This automation can basically scan your website, identify pages that are missing crucial schema.org structured data, that's the code that helps search engines understand entities like products, organizations, events, etc., and then automatically generate and add the correct markup.
Ah, so it helps the AI understand your stuff better.
Exactly. It directly boosts that entity recognition we talked about. The process is basically scan, identify gaps, generate the right schema, inject it into the page code, and then validate it.
Nice. Okay, what's number 2?
Second, a title and meta description rewriter that uses A/B testing.
A/B testing titles and metas. We do that already sometimes.
Right, but this agent does it continuously. It monitors your click-through rates, CPRs.
Yeah.
If it sees a drop, especially on pages where AI overviews are present, it can automatically generate alternative titles and metas, run A/B tests, and select the best performing version. Crucially, it can also monitor for sudden drops and automatically revert if a change hurts CTR.
So it's constantly optimizing those snippets for clicks, even with AI in the mix. Smart. Number 3.
Third, an answer snippet grader. This one directly tackles how you appear in AI answers.
How does that work?
It monitors queries where your site is cited in an AI overview or answer. It then compares the snippet the AI generated against your original content on the page. It can score the snippet for accuracy, completeness, and message alignment, helping you identify areas where you might need to improve your content so the AI represents it better.
So quality control for how the AI summarizes you. I like that. Number 4.
Fourth, especially for businesses with a local focus, a local listing freshness bot.
Okay, for local SEO.
Yep. This automation can regularly, say weekly, audit your key local listings. Your Google Business Profile is the big one, but maybe Yelp, Bing places too. It checks for inconsistencies or outdated information like hours, services, photos, and automatically updates them to keep everything synchronized and fresh. It can even monitor reviews.
Keeping that local info spot on. Crucial for local visibility. Okay, number 5.
And fifth, building a continuous AIV dashboard.
A dashboard for those new metrics.
Exactly. This automation pulls data from various sources, your analytics, Search Console, maybe rank trackers, and potentially feeds from tools like Profound Explorer if you use them to create a real-time dashboard. It tracks your key AI visibility metrics, answer share, entity coverage, citation rate, maybe even competitor AIV benchmarks and topic trends. It gives you that strategic overview for decision-making.
Monitor, compare, score, update listings, track AIV. These sound like really practical, valuable starting points. Do we have any concrete examples, real-world case studies of companies that have actually done this stuff and seen tangible success?
Absolutely. These aren't just theoretical ideas. Let's look at Ramp, the financial tech company.
Like Ramp, what do they do?
They utilized Profound Explorer, that AIV tracking tool, to really dive deep into understanding how their content was being represented for specific, high-value financial queries. They didn't just look at rankings, they looked at their answer share.
And what did they find?
They identified gaps and opportunities. By strategically enhancing their content, optimizing their website structure, and really nailing their schema markup for those key financial topics, they managed to grow their answer share from just 2% to an impressive 7% in only 8 weeks.
2 to 7% answer share in 8 weeks. That's a significant jump in visibility within those AI answers.
Huge jump. Okay, then we have Indeed, the job site.
Indeed. Everyone knows them.
They noticed a worrying drop in click-through rates for some of their core job listing pages, like jobs in Sydney, specifically when Google's AI overview started appearing more frequently for those types of searches.
Right, the AI was answering the question directly.
Exactly. So they didn't just complain, they carefully analyzed how their job postings were being summarized by the AI in those overviews. They looked at what information was being pulled, what was missing.
And based on that analysis,
They made targeted optimizations, they tweaked job titles to be clearer, ensured salary and benefit information was prominent and easily parsable, highlighted key company value propositions better, and emphasized location-specific advantages within the descriptions.
so they optimized for the AI summary.
Pretty much. And the result? An incredible 18% lift in their snippet click-through rates for those targeted jobs in Sydney queries. Even though the AI overview was there, more people clicked their link within or alongside it.
18% CTR lift. That's a massive, especially for a high-volume site like Indeed. Okay, one more.
Let's look at Shopify merchants and the Perplexity-sponsored question ads we mentioned earlier.
Right, the paid opportunity.
Merchants who participated in early trials of these ads saw, on average, a significant 12% lift in lead generation compared to their other channels.
12% more leads. How?
By strategically positioning their product solutions not just as ads, but as direct answers to relevant user questions within Perplexity's conversational search results, they met the user's need directly within the flow of the conversation.
So aligning the ad with the conversational context. Makes sense. Those case studies really illustrate the potential here.
Yep.
It's not just about defense, it's about finding new opportunities.
Exactly.
So for someone listening who's feeling inspired by Ramp, Indeed, and those Shopify merchants, and they're thinking, okay, I need to start building my own AI SEO agent, can we break down the actual steps involved, like a clear, actionable plan?
Definitely. Let's map it out. Here's a 10-step plan to get you started on building your own basic AI SEO agent.
Okay, step one.
Step 1, ingest your data. Sounds familiar, right? Start by gathering all your relevant data, website content, analytics data, GA4, Search Console, competitor info, industry research, customer feedback, everything.
Get all the raw materials. Got it. Step two.
Step 2, vectorize your content. Transform all that textual data into semantic vectors. Store them in a vector database again, options like FAIS, SPG Vector, Supabase. And remember to create those metadata indexes to make searching efficient and experiment with dynamic chunk sizing, aiming for that 300, 500 token sweet spot.
Turn it into AI-readable memory. Okay, step three.
Step 3, define agent roles. If you have multiple agents or complex tasks, clearly define the specific responsibilities for each agent. What's its job? What decision-making authority does it have? What's the process for escalating tasks or questions to a human? Maybe even set up a hierarchy if needed.
Give the agent its job description. Makes sense. Step 4.
Step 4, craft your prompt schema. This is crucial. Develop well-structured prompts that guide your agent's actions effectively. Implement JSON schema validation, like we discussed, to ensure the output follows your desired format. Create reusable prompt templates for common tasks, and clearly define the guardrails you want to enforce within the prompts themselves.
Design the instructions carefully. Okay, 5.
Step 5, run your first loop. Time to turn it on. Start your agent with a specific, simple objective. Closely monitor its initial execution. Watch its speed, resource consumption. Capture detailed logs. Identify any initial issues, errors, or weird behavior.
Test drive. Monitor closely. Step 6.
Step 6, implement human-in-the-loop review. This is vital, especially early on. Regularly review the agent's recommendations, analyses, and proposed actions. Provide feedback. Have a clear process for approving, modifying, or rejecting its suggestions. And importantly, document all those decisions and the reasoning behind them.
Human oversight and feedback. Got it. 7.
Step 7, publish your changes. Once you've reviewed and approved the agent's recommendations, implement the changes. Whether it's updating content, adding schema, or something else, make sure you record the state before and after the changes. Tag the changes clearly in your systems, and ensure you maintain a version history so you can easily revise if needed.
Make the approved changes. Track everything. Step 8.
Step 8, measure your AIV. Start tracking those key AI visibility metrics we defined. Answer share, entity coverage, citation rates, compare them over time. Also, compare them against your traditional SEO metrics, rankings, traffic conversions, and overall user behavior signals. See the whole picture.
Track the new metrics alongside the old. Okay, 9.
Step 9, roll back on performance drops. Have your safety net ready. Establish clear performance thresholds for your key metrics. If you see a significant unexpected decline after an agent's actions cross those thresholds, have automated processes in place to quickly revert those changes back to the last known good state. Document what triggered the rollback.
Automated safety net. Crucial.
Eh.
And finally, step 10.
Step 10, engage in weekly iteration. This isn't a one-and-done thing. Set aside time each week, or maybe bi-weekly, to review the performance data. Identify what worked, what didn't. Use those insights to update your agent's parameters, refine its prompts, maybe expand its capabilities, or give it new tasks based on what you're learning and seeing success with. Continuous improvement.
Ingest, vectorize, define roles, craft prompts, run, review, publish, measure, rollback, iterate. That's a fantastic, actionable roadmap. Thank you. Now, as we encourage people to venture into this powerful new territory with AI, we also need to talk about the flip side. What are some of the potential pitfalls or risks that businesses really need to be mindful of?
That's a very important discussion. Building and deploying these agents isn't without risks. One significant one we've touched on is hallucinations.
The AI making things up.
Exactly. The risk that the AI might generate incorrect, misleading, or simply nonsensical information. This is precisely why using tools like Guardrails AI with rigorous JSON schema validation is so important. Defining expected output structures can significantly mitigate, though perhaps not entirely eliminate, this risk.
Okay, so managing hallucinations is key. What else?
Another potential issue is brand tone drift. Over time, as an autonomous agent makes numerous small optimizations to content, it could subtly, perhaps unintentionally, shift your brand's voice away from your established style guide.
Hmm. The AI doesn't quite sound like us anymore.
Right. It might become too generic or too technical or just
Ross.
implementing automated style guide checkers as part of the validation process can help catch this and maintain consistency.
Good point. What are the risks?
We also need to be constantly aware of SRP volatility. Search engine results pages, especially now with AI, can change very rapidly. An optimization that worked great yesterday might suddenly underperform tomorrow due to an algorithm update or a shift in how AI overviews are generated.
So what worked before might break.
Exactly, which is why having those threshold-based rollback systems in place is crucial. You need to be able to automatically revert changes quickly if key metrics suddenly tank to minimize any negative impact.
That safety net again.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And finally, especially with increasing regulations like the Digital Markets Act, DMA in Europe, and potentially others elsewhere, compliance is becoming a major consideration.
How so?
Regulations might require you to demonstrate responsible AI usage. This could involve keeping detailed logs, perhaps for up to 2 years, as suggested by DMA guidelines, of the prompts you give your AI agents, the outputs they generate, the data they were trained on or used for retrieval, and the decisions made based on their recommendations. Audit trails become essential.
Wow, 2-year logs. That's significant record keeping.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a fully hands-off, set it and forget it approach then.
Absolutely not. At least not yet, maybe never entirely. It requires active monitoring, strategic guidance, robust guardrails, and continuous oversight.
Okay. So assuming we're managing the risks, how do we actually measure if all this effort in AI, SEO, and AIV is actually paying off, especially if clicks are declining? How do we prove the ROI?
That's the challenge, right? Direct attribution can be tricky when clicks aren't the primary outcome. You absolutely need to focus on tracking those new AI visibility metrics consistently. Your overall AIV percentage, what proportion of relevant queries show some kind of visibility for you in AI features. Track the trend of your answer share over time. Is it going up? That's a key indicator. And monitor your entity coverage score. Is the AI's understanding of your brand improving?
So track the AIV metrics themselves. But how do they connect to business value?
When direct conversion tracking from AI interactions isn't mature or easily available, you need to look at ROI proxies. Think about metrics that indicate downstream impact. Are you seeing increases in brand recall in surveys? Improved consideration rates for your products or services? Are you seeing growth in branded search volume? Are more people searching specifically for your brand name after potentially seeing you in AI answers?
So looking for those secondary effects.
Exactly. You can also use audience perception studies or social listening to see if sentiment towards your brand is improving as your visibility in helpful AI answers increases. It's about connecting the dots indirectly sometimes.
Okay, using proxy metrics makes sense. Anything else on the measurement front?
Yes, for internal accountability, transparency, and potentially compliance, maintaining detailed explainability logs is becoming increasingly valuable.
Explainability logs.
These logs document things like what data sources did the agent use for a specific output? What content snippets did it select during retrieval? How did it synthesize that information to generate the final answer or recommendation? This level of transparency helps you understand why the agent did what it did, builds trust, and provides that crucial audit trail if needed.
Documenting the why. Got it. Okay, this has been incredibly comprehensive. We have the concepts, the tools, the plan, the risks, the metrics. For a team ready to jump in, what kind of initial timeline and resource investment are we realistically looking at to get a basic AI SEO agent up and running following that 10-step plan?
Okay, let's break it down roughly, based on our estimates for a focused effort. Week 1 would likely be dedicated to the foundational steps: data ingestion and vector setup.
Steps 1 and 2.
Right. Collecting your data, choosing and setting up your vector database, figuring out your chunking strategy, doing initial retrieval testing. This will probably require around 25 hours of work, and it heavily demands technical skills, particularly in data engineering.
Okay, week 1. Data and vectors. About 25 hours, needs tech skills. Week 2.
Week 2 would focus on building the core agent logic and implementing your initial guardrails.
Steps 3, 4, and the guardrails part.
Exactly. Defining the agent's decision-making processes, setting up tools like Guardrails AI or similar validation, establishing your brand voice verification checks, building out those human approval workflows. This phase would likely take around 30 hours and requires a mix of skills collaboration between your technical team building the logic and your content or SEO team defining the rules and brand standards.
Week 2. Agent logic and guardrails, about 30 hours, needs tech and content collaboration. And week 3,
Finally, week 3 would be about taking your agent from that testing environment to production and establishing your baseline KPIs.
steps 5 through 10, essentially. The testing, deploying, measuring, iterating start.
Sort of, yeah. It's deploying to a staging environment for thorough testing, measuring your initial AIV and traditional KPIs to get a baseline, setting up your ongoing monitoring dashboards, then carefully deploying to your live environment, and starting that continuous tracking and iteration process. This phase should take around 20 hours, with a really strong emphasis on rigorous testing, accurate measurement setup, and integrating the agent smoothly into your existing operational workflows.
Week 3, staging, production, baselining KPIs, about 20 hours. Focus on testing and operations. So total initial build, maybe around 75 hours spread over 3 weeks.
That's a reasonable ballpark estimate for getting a basic agent operational. Of course, complexity, team experience, and the specific tools chosen will influence that, but it shows it's a significant yet manageable initial investment of time and expertise.
Okay, it's not trivial, but it sounds achievable, especially given the potential impact.
Absolutely, and the landscape demands it. The search world has fundamentally transformed, with the majority of desktop searches in the US and EU now resulting in 0 clicks. Just hoping people click your blue link isn't enough anymore. Proactively building an AI visibility strategy is, well, it's rapidly shifting from being a good idea to becoming a business necessity for staying competitive.
It really feels like a paradigm shift. And building these autonomous AI SEO agents, it might have sounded like science fiction just a couple of years ago, maybe even last year.
Yeah.
But now it offers a powerful, and as you say, increasingly essential way to not just maintain, but actually grow your brand's presence in this new answer first world.
And this isn't just theoretical anymore, as those case studies showed. We've seen tangible results from companies big and small that have embraced this shift and started experimenting. Now, really, it's your opportunity for everyone listening to take action.
Don't get left behind.
Exactly. Start with that 10-step build plan we outlined. Explore those deploy today automation ideas and maybe pick just one to start with. Even taking those initial steps, learning the process, starting to track AIV can put you significantly ahead of the curve.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the single key takeaway or final thought you'd really like our listeners to remember as they think about everything we've discussed today?
I think it's this. The future of search, and increasingly the present of search, is about immediate answers, not just a list of links to potential answers. Adapting your strategy, your content, your measurement to thrive in this answer-first reality. It's no longer a future consideration you can put off. It's a present-day necessity for maintaining a competitive edge and genuinely connecting with your audience where they are now and where they'll increasingly be in the years to come.
Answer first. That's the paradigm.
Oh.
Okay, ready to take the plunge yourself and dive deeper into this world of AI-powered SEO? We want to help you get started. Head over to our resource page. You'll find a link in the description for a free 20-point AI SEO checklist. It's a great starting point.
And if you're looking for more personalized guidance, maybe help adapting that 10-step plan to your specific business, or figuring out which tools are right for you, we're also offering consultation opportunities. Check the resource page for details on that too.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Join us next time for another in-depth exploration right here on Search Insights Academy.